There's been quite a few book challenges that have come and gone on YouTube, but one that seems to have stuck around the longest, I would say, is the 24-hour reading challenge. So I have decided to attempt it. Whilst I know that some people literally sit for 24 hours straight and try and read as much books as they can, I physically cannot do that. I am not a spring chicken anymore. If I do not get my 8 hours sleep, I will literally go insane. However, I'm between jobs right now, so I'm technically unemployed. So whilst I have this time off, I'm going to be spending a lot of my time reading. So in this video, I'm going to be seeing how many books I can read over 24 hours. It's going to be a mix of different books, so stay tuned to see what they are. A few people have asked me to do like a reading vlog style video, so this is the first one that I'm attempting, so if you enjoy it, please let me know. If not, also let me know so I won't do them ever again. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen my face before, hello, I'm Katerina, lovely to see you here. I talk a lot about books, and if that's something you're into, why don't you consider subscribing? And with that being said, let's get into the video. Hi. It is currently Tuesday the 20th of August and the time is just gone past 2 p.m. and we're going to be reading some books. The very first book I'm going to be reading is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I don't know if this book actually counts, but I'm actually almost near the end. I'm on page 124 and I think I literally have like 20 pages left. I want to finish this today, so I am hoping that I finish this in the next hour, so join me as I finish reading this book. Hello again, I have just finished Giovanni's Room and the time is almost 3 o'clock, so it has been an hour. I do find that classics take me a lot longer to read just because the writing is tiny. Like compared to a normal book, the writing is super small even though it looks like a small book, and also just like the language in it is a bit more old school, so it just takes longer to fully comprehend what is going on. And also the reason why it takes me so much longer as well is because there is a lot of French in this book, and usually when books have different languages littered throughout, I actually like to write the translation in the margins just so then I feel like I grasp like everything I possibly can from the book, because even though it gives you sometimes context around the language so you can fully understand what's been said, I just like to make sure that nothing gets lost in translation. So I usually have my laptop with me and I use Google Translate just to make sure that I capture everything. This book was really good. I super enjoyed this book and it wasn't what I expected at all. This book was not going where I expected it to go, and I am really pleasantly surprised by the ending. And just for a bit of context what it's about, if you're also intrigued to read this, it is about an American man that goes to Paris during the 1950s because he's recently just proposed to his also American fiance, but she wants to take some time to think about her decision and she's vacationing in Spain. However, whilst our character is in France, he meets a barman who is called Giovanni and they basically fall in love. And this isn't a spoiler because it's literally written on the back of the book, but basically after 3 months his fiance returns and he ultimately then like denies who he has been throughout these 3 months and also just denies who he is in general, thinking that this is like the best thing to do. And the book basically looks into the consequences of him doing that. This book is just so layered and has so many nuances, and I really can't wait to do like a proper review of this in my monthly reading wrap-ups because I feel like I just have so much more to say on this, which I will keep for the reviews, and we will carry on with the challenge. Okay, I now have to think about my next book, so I'm gonna take a look at my shelf and come back and pick my next one.
A few moments later.
I'm hiding my book choice behind my back and I'm going to reveal it because it is quite an embarrassing one. I have picked this next book because I know that I will hate it. It even made me ashamed to buy the book, even though it was in a charity shop and it was literally £1. But I have picked it up because I want to see what all the fuss is about and I want to see why people are reading it. So the next book I'm going to be reading on my challenge is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I promise you that this is not my taste. I have never read a Colleen Hoover book in my life. I have a feeling that I will absolutely hate and slate this for the entirety that I'm reading it. I hope you believe me, like, come on, I've literally just read Giovanni's Room. This is usually my taste, but I just really want to read this and just see what it's about. It's actually quite sunny in London today. It's a bit windy, but I'm actually thinking about going to Hampstead Heath in London, as it's really not far from my house. It's like a 15-minute walk, and I'm thinking of just like reading the book in a field for a while, because I know this book is going to suck, but I would quite like a setting where it would actually be enjoyable to read. So I'll see you soon. I've just finished the first chapter of this book, and oh my god, I have some thoughts. In this rare instance, I already dislike the love interest more than I do the main character, which is so rare for me for these sort of romance novels. The guy is very weird and arrogant, and already I knew that there was a lot of domestic abuse in this book, but his opening scene is him smashing a chair, and it's like, this isn't probably going to end well, even though it will end with them. There's also a really weird bit where they're talking about like their first thoughts that they have of each other, and one of him is that he literally says that I would like to fuck you, and it's just a little bit weird. Like, if that was me, I'd be like, okay, that's the end of this conversation, given that you've literally just met him, and it's not like they're drunk on a night out, like she's literally in some apartment building. It's just a little bit weird. Do you know what I mean? Hello, I'm starting to get very cold now that the sun has gone, and it is 8 p.m. I am on page 102. I am happy with that. We are now at 3-ish hours. This book is already so wild. There's so many times I'm scribbling in it being like, what on earth is going on? I really feel like this book definitely belongs on Wattpad. I just am cringing at so many places, and I just can't believe that this is actually published work. There's literally one point where the love interest begs the main character to sleep with her, and it's literally just wild. And then there's a housemate who's jealous that the main character's on bereavement leave just so she can have time off work. It's just a very bizarre story. But yeah, I'm gonna walk home now, and I will check in with you guys tomorrow. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Last night I actually ended up reading another 2 hours on the book, so I think we are officially like halfway through. My thoughts so far is that this book is crazy and wild. I'm like literally making notes in it as I go, and most of them are literally just screaming like, please stop and please reevaluate your life choices. Can't say, why did I take my sunglasses off? And the fact it's been made into a film just blows my mind even more, because I'm like, wait, people actually liked this book and there was actual interest in it being made into visual media, which I find baffling because I'm struggling just imagining it in my head because it is so painful. But anyway, we're going to carry on reading. As my fun employment continues, I actually want to go shopping today, so I'm going to read an hour or so this morning, which I think my total is now, including last night, 5 hours. So I'm going to read another hour to get to 6, go shopping, and then come back and read some more. apologies. I didn't really film much whilst I was there because I was just so overstimulated, and the thought of having to get my camera out and capture what was going on around me when I had 5 screaming kids running around me at all times, just a crowd to battle through, and just 2 bright lights and heavy music was just a lot to deal with. Anyway, I have almost finished this book. The more I get through it, the more I'm just like, what the hell is going on? It's starting to get quite serious. That doesn't mean it's getting better. I will be glad when I have finished reading this book, because the longer I spend reading it, the more years it's taking off my life. I think I've done about 8 hours, which means we're officially a third of the way through the reading challenge. I'm hoping I finish the rest of this book in like an hour. I'm going to be reading tonight. And yeah, I will check back in with my thoughts of you tomorrow morning.
Eternity later.
You will quite not believe the day that I've had. So even though I said that I'll catch up with you in the morning, that was a complete lie. So again, as part of my fun employment, today I was actually travelling back to York to visit my parents and my friends for the rest of the week. And my train was around 1 p.m, but for some reason, as I was getting ready, in my head I thought I had loads of time, and I was like, oh, I'll be able to film a video and, you know, read some and pack. Oh no. Mercury's in retrograde. I should have pre-planned this and realised that travel will not go as expected, and I basically didn't have time to film. That being said, I have now finished this book. I am in still complete and utter shock that this has actually been turned into a movie. And to be honest, I'm more shocked that this book is as popular as it is and people are raving about it. The writing was so bad. Like, so bad. I think it literally got to a point where every single page I was making notes of just like how silly and crazy this book was. And also just to give some context about this book of what it's about, because I've realised I haven't actually explained at any point what the plot is. It follows a girl who's in her early 20s, and at the start of the book we find out that her dad's just passed away. However, her dad was a really bad guy who was just like a really like useless father, was never there for her life, and also was domestically abused her mum. And shortly after this, she decides to open up her own business as a florist and sell lots of lovely flowers. And at the same time, she meets a guy in her apartment building, I think, and basically they hit it off, and they then start seeing each other and begin a new relationship. And the story is pretty much about her relationship with this guy and how it then brings up things from her past with other relationships and things to do with her family. The back of the book makes me laugh because it says, "It ends with us is an unforgettable tale of love that comes at the ultimate price." Yes, it's unforgettable because it's so awful, and the ultimate price is that my mental health has suffered as a result of reading it. But all in all, I'm glad that I've finally finished it, and I will do a proper review of this in my monthly reading wrap-up, which will be scathing, I can assure you. Anyway, this morning as I was getting my train, I was literally running to the tube in order to catch it because I realised I completely messed up on timings. However, before I left the house, I picked up a new book that I wanted to read, and this is The New Me by Halle Butler. I decided to pick this book because I know that it's based around work, and I am starting a new job in about a week, and I thought, what better idea to pick up a book that's about work. And usually my train ride back home is like 2 hours, so I thought, perfect, 2 hours, I can get solid reading time in there. However, I suppose there was good news and bad news. The bad news was that my train actually had a fault with it, which meant that I was delayed for about 4 hours. It was actually carnage because everyone was like waiting on the train for like an hour and a half, and then we were told to get off the train and wait on the platform, and we had to wait for like another train to arrive. However, that train was then delayed because somebody had a medical emergency on it, and someone has to get an ambulance and wait for this passenger to then get off the train. And it is now the end of the day, and I was hoping to have like the whole day left for me just to do like other things, but I haven't. But that's life, I suppose. But the good news is that I had about 6 hours to read this book, and I completely finished it. So the protagonist of this book is a 30-year-old woman, and at the start of the book she is working a temporary job at a design company, and she works there as like a receptionist, and she has a manager who is like the lead receptionist, and she's a bit bitter and weird towards her. And throughout the book the narrative shifts from this like first person point of view of our protagonist being like, oh, I'm doing such a good job, but I don't want this to be like a full-time thing because this isn't what I want to do in life. And it switches between different people within her company and then what they think of her. I'm going to leave like the plot line particularly vague, but this wasn't the sort of book I was expecting. I also kind of wish I didn't read it in summer. I feel like this is definitely more of like a winter book because it's very like down and, to be honest, a little bit depressing. If you've read the book Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter, it's very much along the same lines of that. Overall, it was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but yeah, I'll be doing another review of this at the end of the month. Anyway, all of this drama aside, it now means that I am officially at 14 hours into the 24-hour challenge, which means that I have 10 hours left. I would ideally like to get all of the 10 hours done tomorrow, but because I'm at home and I'm seeing my parents, that probably won't happen. So I'm going to predict that I'm going to do 5 tomorrow and 5 on Saturday, but we shall see. See you tomorrow. Hello, we are into hour 15 of the challenge and I'm going to be reading The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I have always wanted to read this book because I've just heard amazing things about it. It was actually in the 100 best books of the 21st century of the New York Times. And from what I've heard, I believe that it's like a dystopian novel and it follows a father and a son walking through America after it's all been burned by some sort of unknown disaster. I don't really know anything more than that, but just from reading about it, it gives me very much, oh my god, what's that show? What's it called? The one with Pedro Pascal? No, that's crazy how I actually can't remember. Hang on, I need my laptop. The Last of Us, okay. Called The Last of Us, it ends with us. How many us's are there? But yeah, it gives me The Last of Us vibes. So I am really excited to read it. And the last 2 books I've read have just been meh. Like I haven't really cared about the plot that much. So with this book, I'm hoping that it's quite gripping and keeps me really invested. So we shall see. I will let you know. I have been reading for 4 hours and I'm just over halfway through this book. This book is absolutely insane, and insane in a good way, because I actually think that this is going to be a 10 out of 10 read of the way it's going. I am such a sucker for survival thrillers and this just has everything and more. It's gripping, it has horror, I'm scared reading it. I did actually Google it and apparently The Last of Us was actually inspired by this book, which makes total sense. I didn't realize it was going to be as graphic and as raw as it is. There's just a lot of graphic detail about bodies and the last humans that are on Earth and what they're doing to survive. And it is just crazy. I actually think this is going to be one of those books that does stick with me for a long time to come. I have no idea what's going to happen in like the last bit of the book, but I'm scared because now I'm very emotionally invested in the boy and his father. I really want to keep reading. I feel like I haven't read a book like this in a long time where I'm just gripped and I need to know what happens next. All that I can say is I'm so thankful after the last 2 books I've had that I've actually finally picked up one that is really, really good to read. I might try and read for 1 more hour and then I will be at 19 hours and then I'll only have to do 5 tomorrow. But good night for me from now and I shall see you tomorrow. Bye. Hello. I read an extra hour last night and an hour this morning and I am almost near the end. I'm not gonna lie, this book is actually so scary, to the point where I was actually like struggling to sleep last night because I just kept thinking about things that were happening in the book. I don't know why, I always find like the most disturbing books my favorite. I feel like because it just has such a hold over me, I'm just like, oh my god, like this is incredible writing. But genuinely, this is really, really good and I'm actually so excited to finish it because I need to know what happens. Plan for today is, firstly, I need to go to the post office to send a parcel. I need to go to the shop to buy ingredients for cocktails that I'm making tomorrow with my friends. And thirdly, I will need to finish this book. I have 4 hours left on the challenge. I think I'll definitely be able to finish this book in that time and probably start a new one, but we'll see where we get to. Now, cue a montage of the rest of my day. I'm kind of speechless. This was incredibly heavy. I'm actually lost for words. This is definitely going to be one of those books that I think will stay with me for life. I'm actually shook by the ending. I can't believe that happened. I'm not going to tell you what the plot's about because I don't want it to spoil it, but pretty much from what I said about the beginning, this story is literally of the journey of a man and his son through a desolate America, basically trying to survive. It's such a powerful read because you can really put yourself in the shoes of the characters and imagine what they're going through, and it also makes you think, oh, what would I do in that situation? And the way that the father talks about the world before this fire happened is so interesting because to this boy who's never seen this previous world, it feels very alien to him to try and describe this past world. And the boy has no other choice but just to trust what his father says and do what he says. I'm actually kind of sad that it's over because honestly, this is one of the best books I've read in a long time. Yeah. Oh my god. That being said, I'm officially at 22 hours into the challenge. I have 2 hours left, so I may as well just start a new book. Sorry, there was a fly that was distracting me. So let's see which new book I choose. Hello. When I'm back in York, I like to actually sit outside a lot because I feel like the air here is so much more fresher compared to London because it's just not full of pollution and smog. And I quite like using my full lung capacity, to be honest, so I'll happily sit outside even if it's a bit chilly. So the next book I've picked is Shuggie, Bain by Douglas Stuart. I feel like if I read a questionable book after The Road, it's going to put me in a reading slump, whilst I know that this is a really good book. For a bit of context about what the book is about, it is set in Glasgow during the years where Margaret Thatcher was in power, and we follow a very poor working class family. Specifically, we follow the youngest boy of this family, who is called Shuggie Bain, and it's kind of a recount on his life of his childhood years growing up and his years when he's a teenager, I think. And his mother has a lot of addiction issues and she's a victim of domestic abuse, and I think it's a bit of a story of him trying to save his mother from herself, but at the same time he realizes he needs to save himself. But yeah, I have high hopes for this book and I am excited to read it. So for my final 2 hours, I'm going to be sat here reading this and I will let you know my thoughts at the end. Hi. For hopefully the last time in this video, I have officially read 2 more hours of this book and I'm so pleased to say that I've officially finished the 24-hour challenge. In the last 2 hours I spent reading, I managed to get to page 60 of this book and it's really good so far. It's very gritty, it's very intimate, it's very raw, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm finding it so descriptive and it feels like I'm actually there. Like I feel like the author is really making use of like all 5 senses, and I honestly feel like I can hear, smell and like touch everything that's being described to me. Also, something I'm finding quite fun is that the speech in the book is written in like a Glaswegian accent. And at first I thought I was going to be like put off by this and I thought I wouldn't really understand what they're saying, but like I can. And it's actually quite funny being able to like sound out the characters' voices in your head in like a Glaswegian accent. I've always put off reading Trainspotting because it's written in like a Scottish dialect, but I think I'm actually going to pick up sooner than I thought because I'm actually really enjoying how this book is written. But that being said, the 24 hours is up. I know that this is spanned over like 5 days, but this is honestly so much more than I usually read. For me, usually I read about a book a week, but in this challenge, I think I've read 5 different books, or maybe like 3 or 4, because I started by finishing Giovanni's Room and I finished by starting Shuggie, Bain, if that makes any sense. I'm gonna go with 4. I'm gonna say 4 books in total. It was definitely an interesting mix. Like It Ends With Us and The Road were completely 2 separate books, which were very interesting to read basically back to back. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please drop a like down below. It really helps my channel out. Were there any books here that you've read? If so, what did you think of them? Let me know in the comments. And if you're you're new to the channel and you like this content, why don't you consider subscribing? I make new videos every Tuesday, and that way you'll be there when the next one drops. Feel free to also follow me on my Instagram. I post a bit more personal stuff on there, but I also post about books as soon as I finish reading them, so you can see what they're about and also what I've rated them out of 10. Feel free to also show me some love on Goodreads. I recently made a new account, so I'm slowly adding all the books on there, so it's a work in progress, but add me as a friend if you'd like. And yeah, that's enough reading for the rest of the week. I'm going to spend the rest of my week watching TV because there's a lot of shows I want to catch up on. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed these vlog style videos, let me know. I don't really do them because I never know how well they get received, but if you enjoyed it, feel free to let me know. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!